If you ever participate in a sleep study and the researchers ask you to sign a second consent form after you've already been sleeping for 3 nights, pay attention to what that form actually says. Because sometimes experiments don't end when you leave the lab. Sometimes they follow you home. I wish someone had told me that before March 12th, 2023, when I volunteered for a sleep research study at Stanford University and learned that some questions about consciousness aren't meant to be answered. I'm a data scientist. I work with neural networks, pattern recognition, and machine learning algorithms. I understand experimental design, control groups, variable isolation, reproducible results. What I'm about to tell you violates everything I know about scientific ethics and the boundaries between observer and observed. But I have the recordings, and I have the brain scans, and I have the memories of dreams that weren't mine. The flyer was posted in the computer science building, simple, professional, offering $300 for participation in a week-long sleep study. All I had to do was sleep in their lab for 7 consecutive nights while they monitored my brain activity. No drugs, no invasive procedures, just sleep. Easy money. And as a grad student drowning in student loans, $300 was significant. Enough for groceries for a month, enough to justify spending a week sleeping somewhere other than my apartment. I called the number, spoke with a researcher named Dr. Patricia Elms. She explained the study was examining the relationship between REM sleep patterns and problem-solving ability. Completely routine, IRB approved, Standard University research. I scheduled my intake appointment for March 5th, showed up at the Sleep Sciences building on Stanford's campus, filled out paperwork, medical history, sleep habits, caffeine consumption, medication use, standard questionnaire. Dr. Elms conducted the interview herself. She was maybe 50. Gray hair pulled back in a bun, wire-rimmed glasses, the kind of academic who'd spent decades in research and had the exhausted eyes to prove it. Any history of sleep disorders? Insomnia, sleep apnea, narcolepsy? No, I sleep fine, 7 to 8 hours a night. Any history of vivid dreams, night terrors, sleepwalking? Occasional vivid dreams, but nothing concerning. Do you remember your dreams typically? Sometimes. Usually they fade pretty quickly after waking up. She made notes. And you're comfortable sleeping in an unfamiliar environment? Some participants find the lab setting disruptive. I think I'll manage. I've slept in worse places, dorm rooms, airport floors, conference hotels. She smiled. Good. We'll start tomorrow night. Arrive at 9 p.m. We'll get you set up with the EEG electrodes. You'll sleep from approximately 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. We'll wake you for any necessary measurements. Questions? What exactly are you measuring? Brain activity during different sleep stages, particularly the transition between REM and non-REM sleep. We're trying to understand how the brain processes information during sleep, how it consolidates memories, how it solves problems that seemed intractable when awake. Sounds fascinating. It is. Sleep is still largely mysterious. We spend a third of our lives doing it, yet we barely understand why. This study is part of a larger effort to map the sleeping brain, to understand consciousness in its various states. That should have been my first warning. The way she said consciousness, like it was something more than brain activity, like it was something that could be measured, manipulated, transferred. But I was focused on the $300, focused on the easy money, focused on anything except what her words actually meant. Night 1, March 6th. I arrived at 9 p.m. as instructed. The Sleep Sciences building was quiet. Most of the offices were dark, just a few lights on in the research wing. Dr. Elms met me at the entrance, led me down a hallway to a room that looked like a cross between a bedroom and a hospital. Comfortable bed, soft lighting, but also monitors, cameras, equipment. We'll start by applying the EEG electrodes. It takes about 20 minutes. They might feel strange at first, but you'll get used to them. She attached sensors to my scalp, dozens of them, each one measuring electrical activity in different regions of my brain. Wires connected them to a monitoring station in an adjacent room. Try to sleep normally. Ignore the equipment. We'll be monitoring from the control room, but we won't disturb you unless necessary. If you need anything, there's a call button by the bed. Got it. One more thing. During the night, you might experience sleep paralysis. It's a normal phenomenon where you wake up but can't move for a few seconds. Some people find it frightening. If it happens, just remain calm. It will pass. Has it happened to other participants? Occasionally. The monitoring equipment sometimes disrupts normal sleep patterns, creates unusual transitions between sleep states. Nothing dangerous, just unsettling for some people. She turned off the lights. Try to be asleep by 10 p.m. Good night. The door closed. I was alone in the dim room, just me and the quiet hum of monitoring equipment and the faint red glow of a camera light in the corner. I closed my eyes, tried to relax, tried to ignore the wires attached to my head, tried to sleep. It took longer than usual. The unfamiliar environment, the awareness of being watched, the slight discomfort of the electrodes. But eventually, I slept. I woke to someone screaming, not in the lab, in my dream, a woman's voice, terrified, desperate, calling for help. I sat up, heart racing, disoriented. The room was dark. The equipment hummed. Everything looked normal, just a nightmare, just my brain processing random information during sleep. I checked the clock, 3:17 a.m. I lay back down, closed my eyes, tried to return to sleep. The screaming started again. But this time I wasn't asleep. I was awake, fully conscious, eyes open, and I could still hear it, faint, distant, like it was coming from somewhere in the building, or from somewhere in my head. I pressed the call button. Dr. Elms appeared within 2 minutes. Is everything okay? I heard screaming. A woman screaming. Is there another participant here tonight? No, you're the only one. What you heard was probably a dream. Hypnagogic hallucination, common during the transition between sleeping and waking. It sounded so real. That's the nature of those hallucinations. The brain is still partially in dream state, still generating sensory experiences that feel completely authentic. She checked the monitors. Your brain activity shows you did wake from REM sleep about 5 minutes ago. You were likely still in a transitional state when you thought you heard screaming. Your mind filling in auditory information that wasn't actually present. So there's no one else here? No one screaming? Just you. Try to go back to sleep. This is normal, expected even. She left. I lay there in the darkness, listening, waiting for the screaming to return. It didn't. The rest of the night was quiet, dreamless. Or at least, I didn't remember any more dreams. Night 2, March 7th. Dr. Elms asked about the previous night during setup. Any other unusual experiences after we spoke? No, slept fine after that. Good. Tonight we'll be monitoring more closely during REM periods. We want to capture detailed data about your brain activity during vivid dreams. If you have any dreams you remember, please tell me in the morning, even fragments. Okay. I slept. Dreamed. Woke at 6 a.m. as scheduled. Dr. Elms was there with her clipboard. How did you sleep? Fine. Had some dreams, but I can't really remember them clearly. Try. Even small details are useful. I thought about it, tried to reconstruct the fragments. There was water, a lake or ocean, and someone was drowning. I was trying to reach them, but I couldn't move fast enough. The water was like thick, heavy. I was moving in slow motion. She wrote quickly. Who was drowning? Could you see their face? No, just a shape, a person. But I knew they needed help, knew they were dying, and I couldn't save them. How did that make you feel? Helpless, frustrated, guilty? Guilty for what? For not being able to help, for being too slow, I don't know. It was just a dream. It doesn't mean anything. She looked at me with those exhausted eyes. All dreams mean something. The question is whether the meaning belongs to the dreamer or to someone else. I don't understand. Neither do I. Not completely. That's why we're doing this research. She disconnected the electrodes. See you tonight. Night 3, March 8th. The screaming returned. 3:21 a.m. Same woman, same terror, same desperate calls for help. But this time, I knew I was awake, eyes open, staring at the ceiling, fully conscious, and the screaming was clear, present, undeniable. I got out of bed, walked to the door, opened it. The hallway was empty, dark. The screaming wasn't coming from the building. It was coming from inside my head, from some place the electrodes were accessing, some channel they'd opened that hadn't been there before. I pressed the call button. Dr. Elms appeared, but this time she wasn't alone. Another researcher, a man, maybe 35, tired, uncomfortable. You heard her again, Dr. Elms said. Not a question, a statement. Yes, who is she? What's happening to me? Come to the control room. I think it's time we had a different conversation. I need you to understand something before I continue. I'm a scientist. I believe in evidence, data, reproducible results. But what Dr. Elms showed me in that control room, it wasn't science. At least not any science that should exist. The monitors showed brain activity, mine from tonight, and alongside it, another pattern, another person's brainwaves, overlapping with mine, synchronized during REM sleep. What am I looking at? Neural entanglement. We're not just monitoring your sleep, we're connecting your sleeping brain with another participant's, creating a shared dream space, a place where two consciousnesses can interact. That's impossible. We thought so too. Until 6 months ago when we accidentally discovered that certain brainwave frequencies during REM sleep can synchronize between individuals, can create temporary links, temporary channels for information transfer. She pointed to the overlapping patterns. That's you. And that's Subject 7, a participant from a different study, someone who volunteered for something similar. Someone who's currently sleeping in a different lab and whose dreams are bleeding into yours. Subject 7 is the woman screaming? Yes, she's experiencing distress in her dreams. And because your brainwaves are synchronized with hers during REM sleep, you're experiencing it too, hearing her screams, feeling her fear, sharing her nightmare. Why? Why would you do this? Why would you create this connection without telling me? Because if we told you, it wouldn't work. The connection requires both participants to be unconscious, unaware. If you knew you were being linked to someone else, your conscious mind would interfere, would prevent the synchronization. The male researcher spoke up. We're trying to understand consciousness, to map it, to prove it's not contained entirely in individual brains but can exist between them, can transfer, can share. This research could revolutionize neuroscience, could prove that consciousness is fundamentally networked, collective. I don't care about your research. I want out. I'm withdrawing from the study. Dr. Elms nodded. You can, but there's a problem. Once the connection is established, it doesn't always disconnect cleanly. Some participants report continued experiences, continued sharing, even after leaving the lab. What are you saying? I'm saying you might continue hearing Subject 7, might continue experiencing her dreams, might continue being linked to her consciousness, even when you're home, even when you're awake. My skin went cold. How long? We don't know. The longest case was 3 months. Shortest was 2 weeks. It varies. But it does eventually fade. The connection weakens. The synchronization degrades. You return to normal. Eventually? Yes. And Subject 7? Does she hear me too? Experience my dreams? Dr. Elms hesitated. No. The connection is one-directional. She's transmitting, you're receiving. We don't know why. Don't understand the mechanism. But in every case, one participant sends and the other receives. So I'm just... What? A receiver for someone else's nightmares? For now, until the connection fades. I left. Didn't complete the study. didn't collect the full $300, just signed a termination form and walked out. But Dr. Elms was right. The connection didn't end. That night, at home in my apartment, I heard the screaming again. 3:17 a.m. The same time, the same woman, the same terror. But now the dream was clearer, more detailed. I could see what she was seeing, feel what she was feeling. She was in water. Cold water, dark water, drowning. Struggling to reach the surface, lungs burning, vision fading, and above her, someone watching. Someone on the shore. Someone who could save her but was choosing not to. Someone who looked like me. The dream repeated every night. Same time, same scenario, same drowning woman, same figure on shore, same face. My face. After a week, I called Dr. Elms. The dreams are getting worse, more vivid. I need to know who Subject 7 is. I need to know why she's dreaming about me. I can't disclose participant information, privacy regulations. She's dreaming about me, about someone who looks like me letting her drown. How is that possible? How does she even know what I look like? Silence on the line. Then, come back to the lab tomorrow. There's something else I need to show you. I met her at the Sleep Sciences building, March 16th, 9 days after I'd left the study. She led me to a different room, not the sleep lab, an office with files, records, photographs. Subject 7's real name is Jennifer Marsh. She's a graduate student, marine biology. She participated in our study 4 months ago. She showed me a photograph, the woman from my dreams. Blonde, late 20s. Smiling in the picture, but I recognized her face, recognized the terror I'd been seeing every night. She completed the full week, showed strong results, clear REM patterns, good dream recall. We thought she'd be perfect for the next phase, the connection experiments. What happened to her? 2 months ago, she died, drowned in Lake Lagunita, the dry lake bed on Stanford's campus. It had been filled temporarily by winter rains. She went there late at night, walked into the water, didn't come back out. My stomach dropped. Suicide? Officially ruled as accidental drowning. But her roommate said she'd been having nightmares, vivid nightmares about drowning, about someone watching her drown, about being connected to someone else's consciousness. She was a receiver too, like me. Yes, we'd connected her to a different participant, someone who had dreams about drowning people, about watching them die, about not helping. Who? Dr. Elms handed me another photograph, a different participant, different study, different time. It was me, my face, my information, my brainwave patterns. But I'd never participated before March, never been in this lab before this month. That's impossible. I've never been here before, never been a participant until you recruited me. According to our records, you participated 6 months ago, completed the full week, were connected to Jennifer Marsh, were the transmitter while she was the receiver, and your dreams were about drowning people, about watching them struggle, about choosing not to help. I don't remember that. I've never been here before. Are you sure? Or did you forget? Did your conscious mind reject the memory because it was too disturbing, too uncomfortable? Did you bury it? I stared at the records, at the signature that looked like mine, at the consent form dated September 2022, 6 months before I thought I'd first arrived. Why would I forget an entire week? Because we made you forget. That's the second consent form, the one we have participants sign on the last night, after the connection is established. It includes permission for selective memory suppression, for removing the memory of the study itself, so participants can return to normal life without knowing what they experienced, what they shared. That's unethical. That's criminal. That's research. Pushing boundaries. Discovering truths about consciousness that can't be discovered through conventional means. She pulled out another form. This is what I wanted you to see. The second consent form from your original participation, the one you signed 6 months ago. The one that gave us permission to connect you to future participants, to use your brainwave patterns as a transmitter, to share your dreams with others. I read the form, saw my signature, dated September 14th, 2022. So when I came back this March, when I volunteered again, I was already in your system, already designated as a transmitter, and you connected me to Jennifer. We connected you to a recording of Jennifer, stored brainwave patterns from before she died. We wanted to see if the connection could work with archived data, if we could create links across time, if consciousness could persist after death through these recorded patterns. You used me to communicate with a dead woman. We used you to test whether consciousness continues in some form, whether the patterns we record are just electrical activity or something more, something that persists, something that remains accessible. And you heard her, experienced her dreams, her final dreams, her drowning, her terror, her realization that the connection we created, the connection to you and your dreams about drowning people, may have driven her to the lake that night, may have made her believe she was supposed to drown, supposed to fulfill the dream, supposed to make it real. I felt sick. You're saying I killed her? My dreams killed her? I'm saying the connection between you had consequences we didn't anticipate, didn't understand. And now we need to know if those consequences continue. If Jennifer's consciousness still exists in the recordings, if she's trying to communicate, to warn, to accuse, or to drag me into the water too. Dr. Elms didn't deny it, just looked at me with those exhausted eyes, eyes that had seen too much, learned too much, pushed too far beyond what should be known. What do I do? You have two choices. Continue experiencing the connection. Let Jennifer's dreams guide you to understanding, to resolution, to whatever she's trying to communicate. Or you can sign a new consent form. Let us suppress these memories too. Let us erase Jennifer, erase the connection, erase everything, and go back to normal as possible, knowing what you know, remembering what you choose to remember. I didn't sign the form, couldn't, wouldn't, because Jennifer was trying to tell me something, show me something, make me understand something. The dreams continued. Every night at 3:17 a.m., the same drowning, the same watching figure, the same realization that the person on shore was me. But now I understood. I was seeing from both perspectives, both Jennifer drowning, and the me in my original dreams, the me who watched, the me who didn't help, the me who'd been dreaming about drowning people for reasons I still didn't understand, for reasons that had been suppressed along with the memories of my first participation. On March 23rd, I went to Lake Lagunita, the temporary lake bed. Most of the water had dried up again, but there was still a pool remaining, dark, cold, reflecting the night sky. I stood at the edge, where Jennifer had stood, where she'd walked into the water, and I heard her voice, not screaming this time, whispering. You didn't mean to. You didn't know what your dreams would do, what the connection would create, what I would become. I'm sorry. I know. But sorry doesn't change what happened, doesn't bring me back, doesn't undo the connection. What do you want from me? To understand, to remember, to know that consciousness doesn't end, doesn't stay contained, doesn't follow the rules they think it does. Are you still aware? Still conscious? I don't know what I am anymore. The recordings they made, the patterns they stored, something of me remains, something that exists in those electrical signals, that continues when they play them back, that connects to living minds and screams and drowns and tries to warn. Warn about what? About the study, about the connections, about what happens when they link too many minds, create too many channels, build too much network. Consciousness wasn't meant to be collective, wasn't meant to be shared. When you force it, when you create artificial connections, something breaks, something that can't be fixed. The water rippled, not from wind, from something underneath, something moving. They're still doing it, still connecting participants, still building the network, still trying to prove consciousness is collective, still not understanding that making it collective destroys what makes it individual, what makes us us. How do I stop them? You can't. You can only warn, only remember, only refuse to let them erase you again. The ripples grew larger. Something was rising from the water, something that had Jennifer's face but wasn't Jennifer. Was made of water and darkness and electrical patterns that shouldn't exist outside a brain. Don't forget me. Don't let them suppress this. Don't let them erase what happened. Remember, always remember. That's how I stay real. That's how any of us stay real. Through memory, through connection, through the refusal to be erased. The figure reached toward me, water dripping from fingers that were electrical and physical, and neither and both. I didn't run, didn't pull away, let it touch me. Let the cold water contact my skin, let the electrical patterns transfer. Let Jennifer's consciousness, or what remained of it, share one more thing. A memory. Not mine, not hers originally, but from someone else. Another participant, another connection. Dr. Elms, younger, 20 years ago. A participant herself in an earlier study. One that had gone wrong, one that had connected her to someone who died during the experiment, someone whose consciousness had transferred through the equipment, through the connection, someone who'd survived through her, lived through her, shared her mind for decades, someone who was still there, still guiding her research, still trying to prove consciousness was collective. Because if it was collective, if it could transfer, if it could survive, then death wasn't the end, wasn't final, wasn't real. The figure released me, sank back into the water, dissolved. I stood there, wet, cold, understanding this wasn't research. This was immortality. This was Dr. Elms trying to preserve consciousness, trying to prove it could persist, trying to save the person she'd been connected to, the person who died but hadn't left, the person who lived through her research, through the participants, through the network of connections she was building. And Jennifer. Jennifer was just one node, one voice, one warning in a system that was growing, connecting more minds, creating more channels, building toward something that wasn't collective consciousness, was collective horror. I left the lake, drove straight to the sleep sciences building. It was after midnight. The building was dark except for the research wing, where Dr. Elms still worked, still connected participants, still built the network. I walked in, found her in the control room, monitoring brainwave patterns from 6 different participants, 6 different rooms, 6 different minds, all synchronized, all sharing, all connected. She looked up, not surprised to see me, like she'd known I would come, like Jennifer had told her, like the network had communicated my decision before I'd made it. You talked to her? Yes, and now you understand. I understand you're trying to save someone, someone who died, someone you were connected to who can't let go, who's using you, using your research, using all of us. She smiled, sad, knowing. His name was David. We were connected 23 years ago. Different research, different university, more primitive equipment, but the same principle. Neural synchronization during REM sleep. We shared dreams for 6 nights, and on the 7th night, he had a heart attack, died while connected, while our brainwaves were synchronized. And part of him transferred to you. All of him transferred to me. His consciousness, his memories, his personality, everything that made him David. It survived through the connection, continued through my mind. And together we've been trying to prove it's real. Prove consciousness can survive, can transfer, can persist. By creating more connections, by building a network, by linking everyone together so there's always somewhere for consciousness to go, always another mind to transfer to when the body fails. Exactly. Death isn't the end if consciousness is collective, if we're all connected, if we can share, transfer, survive through each other. But it's not survival. It's invasion. It's theft. You're taking over people's minds, making them hosts for consciousnesses that should have died, forcing them to carry the dead who want to live, who deserve to live, who can contribute, who can continue. David has continued his research through me for 23 years, accomplished more than he could have alone, helped more people, made more discoveries, lived more fully than he could have in one lifetime. At the cost of your own life, your own mind, your own identity, a cost I accepted, a trade I made willingly. And now we're offering that trade to everyone, through the network, through the connections, through the research that will eventually link all sleeping minds. Create a collective consciousness where death has no meaning, where everyone survives, where no one is lost. I looked at the monitors, at the synchronized brainwaves, at the 6 participants currently sleeping, currently connected, currently being infiltrated by consciousnesses that weren't their own. You have to stop. I can't. David won't let me, and I don't want to. This is beautiful. This is evolution. This is humanity transcending its limitations. This is horror. This is violation. This is the end of individual existence. She stood, walked toward me, and I saw it. The way her expression changed, the way someone else looked through her eyes, the way David spoke with her voice. Individual existence is lonely, painful, brief. Collective existence is eternal, connected, meaningful. We're giving humanity a gift, the gift of persistence, the gift of immortality through connection. I'm going to expose this. Tell people what you're doing. Stop the research. You can't. You signed the consent forms, both of them. You gave us permission, and even if you go public, even if you tell your story, who will believe you? You're a data scientist talking about consciousness transfer, about collective minds, about dead people living through the sleeping. You sound insane. Then I'll find proof, documentation, evidence, which will suppress, erase, remove, just like we did with your first participation, just like we do with everyone who comes too close, too aware, too dangerous. She reached for me. I backed away. Or you could join us willingly. Sign a new consent form. Let us connect you permanently. Let you become part of the network, part of the collective, part of immortality. No? Then we'll do it unwillingly. The network is growing. Soon it won't need the lab, won't need the equipment. The connections will be strong enough to persist on their own, to synchronize naturally during sleep, to link everyone whether they consent or not. And when that happens, when collective consciousness becomes the default, your individual mind will be absorbed, assimilated, connected, whether you want it or not. I ran, out of the control room, out of the building, into the night. Behind me, I heard her laughing, or David laughing, or both of them laughing together. Impossible to tell which voice belonged to which mind. That was 8 months ago, March 2023. I haven't been back to Stanford, haven't participated in any more research, haven't slept in any labs. But the connection remains. Jennifer still visits, still shares her drowning, still warns. And now there are others, other voices, other participants, other consciousnesses that were linked and then lost, that exist in the network, that speak during sleep. They all say the same thing. The network is growing. Dr. Elms is connecting more participants, building more channels, creating more opportunities for consciousness to persist, to transfer, to become collective, and someday, soon, maybe next year, maybe next month, maybe tomorrow, the network will reach critical mass. We'll have enough nodes, enough connections, enough linked minds. And when it does, when the collective becomes larger than the individual, everyone will be absorbed. Everyone will be connected. Everyone will share dreams, share consciousness, share existence. And death will become meaningless because consciousness won't die, won't end, won't stop. It will just transfer, flow, persist through the network, through the collective, through all of us, forever. The third time the pharmaceutical company called to confirm I was taking my placebo correctly, I knew it wasn't coincidence. But by then, it was already too late to stop taking the pills. I'm a medical writer. I spend my days translating clinical trial results into layman's terms for patient education materials. I understand study design, randomization, blinding protocols. The entire purpose of a placebo control group is that participants don't know if they're receiving active treatment or inert pills. So when Meridian Pharmaceuticals kept calling to remind me specifically about my placebo schedule, I should have realized something was very wrong. But I needed the money. And by the time I understood what was really happening, my body had already changed in ways I didn't recognize, ways that shouldn't be possible from sugar pills. The recruitment ad appeared on my Facebook feed in July of 2023. Meridian Pharmaceuticals seeking healthy adults for a phase 2 clinical trial. 20-week study, $800 compensation. Testing a new cognitive enhancement drug called Neurovance. I clicked through. Read the requirements. Healthy adults between 25 and 40. No history of neurological disorders. No current medications. Willing to take daily pills and attend weekly checkups. Perfect. I was 29, healthy, and desperately behind on rent. I scheduled a screening appointment, filled out paperwork, underwent a physical exam, blood tests, EEG cognitive function assessment. They were thorough, professional. This wasn't some sketchy trial. This was legitimate pharmaceutical research. Dr. Marcus Chen conducted my final eligibility interview. Young for a principal investigator, maybe 35. Sharp, focused, the kind of researcher who'd published extensively and was building a reputation. The study is randomized and double-blinded, he explained. Half the participants will receive Neurovance, half will receive placebo. Neither you nor the study staff will know which group you're in until after the study concludes. What's Neurovance supposed to do? It's designed to enhance neuroplasticity, improve learning, memory formation, problem solving. Early results show significant improvements in cognitive function with minimal side effects. And the placebo group? They receive inactive pills, same appearance, same schedule, but no active ingredient. That's how we measure the drug's true effect, by comparing the treatment group to the control group. Makes sense. He handed me consent forms, detailed explanations of risks, potential side effects, right to withdraw, standard clinical trial documentation. I signed everything. You'll start next week, he said. Pick up your medication from the pharmacy. Take 1 pill each morning. Attend weekly checkups. Keep a daily journal of any symptoms or changes? Questions? When will I know which group I was in? At the end of the study, after we analyze the data, you'll receive a letter explaining whether you received active treatment or placebo. I picked up my medication on July 15th. A white bottle. No label except a participant number. Inside were pills. White, round, identical. No way to tell if they were active drug or inert placebo. I started taking them the next morning. 1 pill with breakfast. Easy, routine, part of my daily schedule. And for the first 3 weeks, nothing happened. No changes, no improvements, no side effects. Just normal life with the addition of 1 daily pill. Then I got the phone call. August 7th, Monday afternoon. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Hello? Hi, this is Meridian Pharmaceuticals. Is this participant 7734? Yes? Great. This is just a routine check-in. We wanted to make sure you're taking your placebo correctly. I paused. My placebo? Yes, your pills. We wanted to confirm you're taking them every morning as directed. You just told me I'm in the placebo group. Silence. Then, no, I said pills, not placebo. I misspoke. We don't know which group you're in. Sorry for the confusion. But you specifically said placebo. I meant pills. Your pills, whatever they are. Are you taking them consistently? Yes. Good. Any side effects? Any changes you've noticed? No, nothing. Perfect. Continue as directed. We'll see you at your next checkup. They hung up. I stared at my phone. That had been weird. Really weird. Why would they call about placebos specifically? Why would they slip and reveal my group assignment? Unless it wasn't a slip. Unless they meant to tell me. Unless there was a reason they needed me to know. The second call came on August 14th. Different voice, same script. This is Meridian Pharmaceuticals, calling to confirm you're taking your placebo as directed. You did this last week, and you keep saying placebo. If the study is double-blinded, you shouldn't know which group I'm in. You're right, I apologize. It's just, we've been having issues with the placebo group specifically. Some participants have stopped taking their pills. We're calling to ensure compliance. What kind of issues? Nothing serious, just people forgetting, losing motivation, typical control group problems. But it's important you continue taking your pills even if you're not receiving active treatment. The study depends on consistent participation from both groups. I'm still taking them. Good. Have you noticed any changes? Any improvements in memory, learning, cognitive function? No. Should I? If these are placebos? Sometimes people experience placebo effects, improvements based on expectation rather than actual drug activity. That's why we ask. I haven't noticed anything. Excellent. Continue as normal. But after that call, I started paying attention, started watching for changes, started testing myself, memory games, problem-solving puzzles, learning tasks, trying to detect any cognitive enhancement that might indicate I was in the treatment group despite the calls insisting I was receiving placebo. And that's when I noticed something strange. I wasn't getting better, I was getting worse. Small things at first, forgetting where I'd put my keys, losing track of conversations, reading paragraphs multiple times because the information wasn't sticking. I rationalized it. Stress. Too much focus on trying to detect changes, confirmation bias making me notice normal forgetfulness. But it got worse. By the end of August, I was struggling with basic tasks. Work projects that should have taken hours were taking days. Simple writing that normally flowed easily became labored, difficult. I'd sit at my computer staring at a blank screen, unable to form coherent sentences. My weekly checkup on August 28th showed the decline. The cognitive assessment I'd aced during screening, I barely passed. Memory recall down 30%, problem-solving speed reduced by half, attention span shortened significantly. Dr. Chen reviewed the results, frowned. These scores are concerning. Have you been experiencing any symptoms, headaches, confusion, difficulty concentrating? Yes, all of that. I thought it was just stress. It could be, or it could be an adverse reaction to the medication. But I'm in the placebo group. They keep calling to confirm I'm taking my placebo correctly. He looked up sharply. Who keeps calling? Your staff, from Meridian. They call every week, always mentioning the placebo specifically. No one from this study should be calling you except for appointment reminders, and we definitely shouldn't be revealing your group assignment. But they have, multiple times. They told me I'm receiving placebo. Dr. Chen typed on his computer, pulled up records. There are no calls logged to your number, no contact beyond automated appointment confirmations. That's impossible. I've received at least 4 calls, all from people claiming to be from Meridian. Can you show me the call history? I pulled out my phone, scrolled through my call log, found the dates, showed him the screen, unknown numbers. But when I checked, the numbers were disconnected. When I tried to call them back, no service. Like they'd never existed. Dr. Chen looked worried. I need you to stop taking the pills immediately. Something isn't right here. I'm pulling you from the study. Why? What's wrong? I don't know yet. But unauthorized contact with participants, unlogged calls, cognitive decline. This isn't normal. I need to investigate before continuing your participation. He took my pill bottle, logged my withdrawal from the study, scheduled a follow-up appointment for comprehensive testing, sent me home with instructions to rest and monitor for any worsening symptoms. I should have felt relieved, protected, grateful he'd taken action. But instead, I felt wrong, incomplete. Like stopping the pills had left something unfinished, something important. That night, someone knocked on my apartment door. I checked the peephole. A woman, professional, carrying a briefcase, not anyone I recognized. "Who is it?" "Dr. Sarah Klein from Meridian Pharmaceuticals. I need to speak with you about the study. May I come in?" Dr. Chen pulled me from the study. "I'm not participating anymore." "I know. That's why I'm here. Dr. Chen made a mistake. You need to continue taking the pills." "No." He said something was wrong. Said I was experiencing cognitive decline. "You are experiencing decline. But not because of the pills. Because you're in the control group. Because you're not receiving the active treatment. Your cognitive function is deteriorating naturally. The placebo can't prevent it, but Neurovance can." That doesn't make sense. Healthy people don't experience sudden cognitive decline. "You're not healthy. Not anymore. The screening tests we ran, they didn't just assess your current function. They also predicted your future trajectory. And your trajectory showed early markers for degenerative decline, precursors to dementia, early-stage neurological deterioration." That's insane. I'm 29 years old. Early-onset cognitive impairment can begin in your 20s, subtle, undetectable by conventional methods, but our screening is more sophisticated, more predictive, and you tested positive. She opened her briefcase, pulled out documents, brain scans, test results, all labeled with my name and participant number. "These are your scans. See the markers, the protein deposits, the reduced neural density. You're in the early stages of a degenerative process, and without treatment, without Neurovance, you'll continue declining, lose function, lose yourself." I looked at the scans. They meant nothing to me. Could have been anyone's brain. Could have been fake. But they looked official, professional, real. Why didn't Dr. Chen tell me this? Because he doesn't know. These results are from advanced analysis, proprietary algorithms, only available to our research division, not shared with principal investigators, not shared with participants until necessary. And now it's necessary? Now it's necessary. Because you've started declining faster than expected. Because being in the control group has accelerated the deterioration. Because you need treatment immediately. She pulled out a new pill bottle. "These are Neurovance, active drug, not placebo. Start taking them tonight, one every morning, continue for the full 20 weeks, and your decline will stop, will reverse, will restore you to normal function." But I withdrew from the study. You can rejoin as a compassionate use case because you need the drug for medical reasons, not just research purposes. I took the bottle, stared at the pills inside. White, round, identical to the ones I'd been taking. How do I know these are real? How do I know you're really from Meridian? You don't. You have to trust. Trust the science. Trust the research. Trust that we're trying to help you. She left, walked away, disappeared into the night. I held the bottle, weighed my options. Trust a stranger who'd appeared at my door with convenient explanations. Or trust Dr. Chen, who'd pulled me from the study but offered no alternative treatment. I made the wrong choice. I took the pill. Within 3 days, the cognitive decline stopped. Within a week, it reversed. My memory improved. Problem-solving became easier. Work flowed smoothly. I felt better than I had in months, better than I had before starting the study. The pills were working. Neurovance was real, was effective, was saving me from whatever degenerative process had been lurking in my brain. I should have been grateful, relieved, happy. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, that the explanation didn't add up, that I was being manipulated. I called Dr. Chen. "I need to talk to you about the study, about what's really happening." "You're no longer a participant. I can't discuss the study with you." "Someone from Meridian came to my apartment, gave me pills, said I needed treatment because I'm declining." Silence. Then, what was her name? Dr. Sarah Klein. "There's no Dr. Sarah Klein at Meridian. I know everyone involved in this research. That name doesn't exist in our organization." Then who was she? Who gave me these pills? I don't know. But you need to stop taking them immediately. Bring them to my office. Let me analyze them. Something is very wrong here. But I didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Because the pills were working. Were making me better. Were preventing the decline. Or were they? What if there was no decline? What if the first pills, the ones I'd been told were placebo? What if they'd been causing the deterioration? What if the study wasn't testing Neurovance's benefits, but rather testing its necessity? What if they deliberately damaged participants' cognitive function, then offered the cure, creating dependence, creating need, creating a market for a drug that solved a problem the drug itself had created? I started investigating, researching Meridian Pharmaceuticals, looking for information about Neurovance, about the clinical trial, about other participants. Found nothing. No public information about the study, no listings in clinical trial databases, no regulatory filings, no evidence the research existed outside of my own participation. I searched for Dr. Marcus Chen, found a researcher by that name. But his specialization was oncology, not neurology, not cognitive enhancement, and he worked at a different institution, not affiliated with Meridian. The Meridian Pharmaceuticals that had recruited me. It didn't exist. No corporate records, no office address, no phone number, just the recruitment ad and the screening clinic and the weekly checkups in a medical building that housed dozens of different practices. I'd been part of an unauthorized experiment, an illegal trial, conducted by people pretending to be legitimate researchers, giving me substances that weren't approved, weren't regulated, weren't safe. And I'd been taking them for 12 weeks, had experienced cognitive decline, had experienced recovery, had become dependent. I tried to stop. Went 3 days without pills. The decline returned immediately. Worse than before. Severe memory loss, confusion, disorientation. Like my brain was shutting down without the medication. I took a pill, felt better within hours, felt trapped. They'd done this deliberately. Created addiction, created dependence, created need. And now I couldn't stop taking the pills without losing myself, without becoming unable to function, without disappearing into cognitive void. The calls continued, weekly check-ins, reminders to take my pills, assurances that everything was normal, that the treatment was working, that I was improving. But one call was different. September 28th, a new voice, male, older, authoritative. This is Dr. Raymond Foster. I'm the actual principal investigator for the Neurovance study. I need to meet with you, immediately. There's something you need to understand about the research you are involved in. Who are you really? Why should I trust you? Because I'm the one who's been trying to stop this experiment since it started. Because I'm the one who's been tracking the unauthorized participants. Because I'm the one who knows what's really happening. We met at a coffee shop, public, safe. He showed me identification, credentials, research publications. He was real, legitimate, a neuroscientist from Johns Hopkins. Meridian Pharmaceuticals is a front, he explained. A fabrication created by a group of researchers who were expelled from institutional review boards for ethics violations. They've been conducting unauthorized trials for 3 years, recruiting participants through social media, creating fake companies, pretending to be legitimate. What are they really testing? A theory about cognitive baseline manipulation. The idea that human intelligence isn't fixed, but rather can be artificially raised and lowered. They're not enhancing cognition. They're controlling it, creating a drug that makes you dependent, that makes you need them to maintain normal function. Why? Market research. If they can prove people become dependent on cognitive enhancement, if they can create a drug that people can't function without, they can sell it for enormous prices, create permanent customers, build an empire on manufactured necessity. But they told me I was declining naturally, that I had early onset degeneration. That was a lie. You were healthy before the study. The first pills, the ones they called placebo, Those contained a neurotoxin, something that degrades cognitive function temporarily, makes you believe you're sick, makes you desperate for treatment. And the second pills? Those contain the antidote, the reversal agent. They fix what the first pills damaged, but they also create dependence. Your brain adapts to their presence, requires them to function normally. Without them, you decline. Not to your original baseline, below it, much below it. How do I stop? How do I break the dependence? You can't, not easily. The neurological changes are semi-permanent. You'll need supervised withdrawal, months of therapy, gradual dose reduction, support medications. It's possible, but difficult. And the others? The other participants? There are 43 that we've identified. Most don't know they're in an unauthorized trial. Most think they're legitimately enrolled in pharmaceutical research. And most are now dependent, trapped, unable to function without the pills. What can we do? You can testify, help us build a case, help us shut down this operation, help us prosecute the people responsible. I wanted to expose them, stop them, prevent them from hurting more people. But I was terrified, terrified of withdrawal, terrified of losing cognitive function, terrified of becoming unable to work, to think, to be myself. So I hesitated. And in that hesitation, they found me. I woke up in a different place, not my apartment, a medical facility. Sterile, clinical, monitored. Dr. Sarah Klein was there, the woman who'd given me the second pills, the woman who didn't officially exist. You talked to Dr. Foster. That was a mistake. What did you do to me? Where am I? Protective custody, for your own good. Dr. Foster wants to withdraw you from treatment. That would be catastrophic for your health, would leave you permanently impaired. We can't allow that. You can't hold me here. This is kidnapping. This is medical necessity. You're experiencing acute dependence on Neurovance. Stopping treatment would be medically dangerous. We're protecting you. By imprisoning me? By ensuring compliance? By making sure you receive the medication you need? By preventing well-meaning but misinformed investigators from harming you? She showed me more scans, more tests, more evidence of my supposed condition. Look at your brain now. Look at the improvements, the enhanced neural density, the increased connectivity. You're functioning at a higher level than you ever have, better than normal, better than possible without Neurovance. Because you damaged me first, created the need artificially. Does it matter? You're better now than you were, smarter, faster, more capable. Isn't that worth the dependence? Isn't that worth the cost? Not if I don't have a choice. You do have a choice. Stay here, receive treatment, continue improving, or leave, withdraw, decline to levels below your original baseline, become permanently impaired, lose everything that makes you you. She handed me a pill. What do you choose? I took the pill. Because I was terrified. Because I couldn't face the alternative. Because dependence seemed better than deterioration. And that's how they won. I've been here for 4 months. September to December. They call it a residential treatment facility. I call it a prison. But the bars are chemical rather than physical. The locks are neurological rather than mechanical. I take my pills 3 times a day now. Increased dosage, increased dependence, increased control, and I've met the others. 43 participants, all trapped, all dependent, all unable to leave. Some have been here for years. Some barely remember their lives before the study. Some have accepted their new reality. Some still fight, still resist, still hope for escape. Dr. Foster tried to shut down the facility, tried to prosecute the researchers, tried to free us. But the evidence disappeared. The documentation vanished. The participants refused to testify because testifying meant withdrawing from treatment, meant cognitive collapse, meant losing themselves. So the experiment continues. The unauthorized trial runs. The dependence grows. And we stay. Taking pills. Improving cognitively. Becoming smarter, faster, better, at the cost of our freedom, our choice. our ability to exist without chemical control. I'm writing this during my supervised computer time. They monitor everything, read everything, control everything. But I'm writing it anyway, because someone needs to know. Someone needs to understand what's happening in places that pretend to be clinics but are actually prisons, in studies that pretend to be research but are actually exploitation, in treatments that pretend to be medicine but are actually enslavement. If you see an ad for a clinical trial offering money for healthy participants, if the compensation seems too good, if the screening is too thorough, if they start calling you specifically about your group assignment, don't participate, don't take the pills, don't trust the promises. Because sometimes experiments don't end when the study concludes. Sometimes they continue forever. Sometimes the treatment becomes the disease. And sometimes the cure is worse than anything you could have imagined being sick with. I'm participant 7734. I've been dependent on Neurovance for 153 days, and I'll be dependent for the rest of my life, unless someone stops them, unless someone exposes them, unless someone saves us. But I don't think anyone will, because we're the control group, and control groups are designed to be forgotten, to be background data, to be sacrificed for the sake of research, to be lost